Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. Raila Odinga cancelled the Jacaranda rally. And one of the reasons why that rally was cancelled is because Raila will be leaving the country on Saturday tomorrow alongside Martha Karua, and I also understand Kalonzo Musyoka. And the truth of the matter here is, this plan could not have been started as of yesterday. Raila is going to attend US Africa Leaders Summit in his capacity as Africa Special Infrastructure Envoy. So in that capacity, that means that the planning, the invitation was already there, and even the passport arrangements had already been made. And even before Raila went to the public to reveal that they were planning the Jamhuri Day celebration, or rather they were planning parallel Jamhuri Day celebration, he already knew that he was not going to be in the country and that celebration, or rather that event, would not go on to some extent. So I want to differ a bit by this understanding that that rally was cancelled. Everything was planned. And they knew very well that they were just going to have the one meeting in Kamkunji. And even if the Jamhuri Day one was supposed to continue, then it was supposed to continue in the absence of Raila Odinga. You need to look at it that way. And if that was the plan, then it would have shown what exactly the political might or the political power of Kalonzo Musyoka and Martha Karua, by the way. I don't know whether Jacaranda ingeja without Raila. If it had been made publicly that Raila was not there. So one probability could be that they already known that Raila was going to leave and the rest would maybe take charge of it. But after Kamkunji, they realized that it was about Raila. So ladies and gentlemen, what do you think is Raila's mission heading to America? Kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and also like our video. I want to continue saying thank you very much for those who are supporting this channel. I need to make a clarification that not that I have changed analysis in the Luo, as some people are saying. We only decided to also have another channel where we'll do analysis in the Luo, that's Kevin Oduor, and we have this channel, the Bold, we do analysis in English. So there are two channels, there are two different channels, but of course serving, the other one is serving a special, another audience. So ladies and gentlemen, I want us to look at why Raila is heading to US. Question running on people's mind is this, that after the last general election, Azimio la Umoja team led by Raila insisted that US was rather interfered with our election. Rather, amongst the foreign powers that interfered with our election is America. That was the stand. And there were very many theories that were advanced on why perhaps America did not have a soft spot for President, for Raila Odinga, because in the last general election, Raila was more of a continuity. Raila campaigned on continuity, and continuity means that some of the policies that former President Uhuru Kenyatta had, maybe were going to continue. And you know, Uhuru Kenyatta was a man of the East. So that has been attributed to what might have happened, why US might have supported William Ruto. One thing I know is this, is it is not a secret that America supported Ruto. What we cannot yet ascertain is whether they maybe played a role in making sure that William Ruto is a president. At the results and election, maybe there I cannot yet ascertain. Perhaps they just pushed former President Uhuru Kenyatta to tell him that, okay, you're the president, but allow for the transition, maybe democracy to grow or the country to be stable. Could be it might have taken that, but I'm not sure about them really directly interfering with the polls. So what is Raila's mission there? Before I look at that, I need to explain to you that that Africa Leaders Summit is going to be held in Washington. That summit is organized, or rather, is organized by the White House. And the first summit of the same that was organized was in 2014, and that was by then President Barack Obama. Also, what has been confirmed is that Joe Biden has confirmed that he's not going to have one-on-one session with a single African president because it will be cumbersome. All of them will be looking for that attention. So it shows you the spectrum and what America, their stake, their stake on that meeting is they are pulling Africa continent as one. So they don't want to deal with individual countries. That's why I can also maybe take the position that Raila Secretariat are saying that he's representing AU there. That is coming at a time when Raila had just started the public consultations. When that meeting was called, that meeting really was very key, even for both government and people, and even the foreign powers that were supporting William Ruto, on what exactly is the mood of the nation. Mzungu ni mtu ambaye let me say in Kiswahili kwamba mzungu ni mtu is very strategic. I've missed the Swahili word for it. I can tell you that they might have supported William Ruto, but supporting William Ruto will then see favorable foreign policy, and they're not yet sure whether Ruto has completely moved from the east. What they would actually want is preferential treatment. And number two, they warily blamed that they affected our democracy, or rather, despite the fact that at results election process, announcement process, a commission was broke into two. While Chebukati announcing results, the others were also in Serena. They did not acknowledge that there was a problem with our election. They did not acknowledge that indeed there was a problem with our election. So maybe Raila, then maybe meeting Raila, as many people have been looking at it, will also be an opportunity to push Raila for pushing the democratic processes. Now, you need to checkmate, because if you don't checkmate, the President Ruto might not be under any obligation to abide by the agreement. And I have been constantly analyzing Americans' influence in Kenya matters economy and even the politics and democracy. The biggest threat to Africa, especially in Africa, and let me say in Kenya, is China. Raila Odinga, if he was going the continuity way, he was going to be pro-China, following what Uhuru Kenyatta had done. And now William Ruto has come under sharp criticism from a section of Kenyans and experts saying that since he has abandoned the loans that he took in the East and is now going to the West to get new agreements and get new loans, that has been creating a bit of that problem. And America are technically going to use these opportunities, especially these US-Africa summits. They're going to use this to jointly, they can look for Raila to help push China out of the market here. You know, as I'm telling you, is EU infrastructure. So even at the EU level, he has a voice in terms of some of these things, some of these solutions that are needed. And America will actually want Raila, so that they would want a joint force between Raila and Uhuru, between Raila and Ruto, to push China out of the Kenyan space. It will be that they mentioned in one of the recent reports, and I think I analyzed it here, that whether, even though China had portrayed themselves to Kenya as a very good financial partner or a helping friend, but in real sense, they're only advancing the military the military bases in Kenya. I think that conversation was somewhere there. So it's a bit of what can be seen, even though the challenge that America is having so much, and even with the Raila team, is profiling. They've been profiled as pursuing their own interest and not advancing the democratic spaces of the host nations. So this will be somewhere it will fall. And what they actually want is to create that good rapport. And the man to look for, to want to create that rapport, is Raila, because Raila is the person that was all out saying that they affected our election. And as also, you cannot despise his position as the party leader of ODM party. William Ruto and Raila are also working. There is an amendment that is going to the National Assembly for the position of the leader of opposition to be created. I know President Ruto as a man that normally takes credit. You can see, even though East African Community had appointed former President Uhuru Kenyatta as the facilitator, at the inauguration, he had to make it look like he was the one who appointed the president, former President Uhuru Kenyatta. And even in this bill, I have seen an input that President William Ruto is going to give his input, as Azimio and the other Kenya Kwanza leaders also gives his input. So he will always want to frame this as is extending an olive branch to Raila. My position is this, that all of us in this country pay taxes. All of us in this country pay taxes, especially over that. So what I can see is Raila can also do some fundraising on the new office of the leader of opposition and also the ODM party. There is a thin line, and I listened to Kimani Chungwa saying that if you're being funded by the exchequer, then because that is public money, you should not then also use the office to solicit for donor funds. I don't think it's a problem, because as the leader of opposition, we are also the leader of the opposition party. So yes, our parties are being funded by the taxpayers' money, which really it's not a good situation we are in. But nothing stops the leader of opposition to solicit for funds. So I have seen this, that this meeting this flight by Raila to US has a lot in store. And remember, even current President William Ruto is going to attend the same summit. Yes. After Jamhuri Day, he will fly, because the summit is starting from 13th to 15th. After Jamhuri Day, he's also going to fly to US. So you can only remain a myopic person to believe that Raila and Ruto cannot meet in US. It has more into store. It is just coming after the first consultation forum was held, and Opio Andai was saying that when Raila gets back on the 18th, he's going to make sure that maybe the programs are resumed. So there is a lot of it that comes into play. I think what Raila is doing also is going to give it time for these negotiations to go on. There are a lot of backroom negotiations that are going on in terms of that leader of opposition and a couple of working relationships. So he's also giving it time to see if he comes back, whether a position shall have been reached, especially between the two parties.